Well, to be quite truthful, I never thought I would see the day where we would have 70s reaching all the way to northern Vermont, but that is what we've seen during the month of February in the last couple of days. Pretty remarkable to say a temperature has been beaten by a solid 10 degrees on the previous record. Very difficult to see such a wide margin between records, but certainly 73 in Boston, warmest day on record for February, 72 degrees all the way up to Burlington, Vermont, which is not that far from the Canadian border. Really ridiculous warmth for the time of the year, that's for sure. So is winter all said and done? Not exactly, but it does look as if we are going to wind up with the warmest February on record for much of the central and eastern half of the lower 48. So thanks for clicking on to the Monday edition of Vogan's US Outlook. We do have a 1032 high centered just to the east of the Delmarva Peninsula. Cooler air now starting to filter into the northeast, nowhere near as warm as it has been, but certainly it is not particularly cold for the time of the year, that's for sure. But you can see here plenty of cold air representative of these low thickness values over Canada. And we are going to see some of this cold air get tapped and driven southeastwards, bringing a rather rude awakening to the fact that we're still in February. Albeit we're in the final days of February. In fact, tomorrow is the last day of not just February but meteorological winter. So you can see here more snow across the western half of the country. We had some shower activity across the LA area for the Oscars yesterday, and we do have more wet weather coming into the western half of the country here. So you can see here some rainfall pepping up here on radar, uh, particularly so across to the south of the LA basin. It looks as if the area around Oceanside down towards San Diego going to get some pretty heavy precipitation out of this, extending into the Tijuana area of Mexico as well. But the widespread area of snow shower activity across the western half of the country, albeit rather quiet, mild in the east, but that is about to change. As you can see here, two areas of low pressure pushing across the country. We're going to liven things up over New Mexico here, as you can see, but we've got some pretty brisk southwesterly winds. We've got wet weather associated with that as well, so we could have a flood and rain event for places such as Chicago, into parts of Michigan, and indeed the eastern half of the country overall. Now, what I noticed this morning on Twitter was that Chicago has went through January and February without having any snow on the ground, and that has never happened before. So really amazing stuff. You know, records that date back over 130 years. Chicago has never went through a January and February with no snow on the ground. So this is a really weird, wacky type of winter, that's for sure. But you can see here, howling southwesterly winds, heavy rainfall, more like something you would see in springtime, given the fact that it's heavy rainfall rather than snowfall. But you can see here this system will eventually start to drag its cold side down over the northeast, and this could be a rapid freeze across this region of the country. Wet ground, temperatures shooting down below freezing. You could have a very rapid freeze situation developing over the northeastern half of the country. Quieter, much quieter across the west at this moment in time during the day on Thursday. But this certainly could be a rather significant shot of chilly air. Not particularly cold, but chilly at least. Then we're keeping our eyes closely on this system here, this feature. This is us, of course, out to March now, obviously. You can see here the system does have much colder air around it than the previous system, and this could be a snowmaker even into the northeastern half of the country here. And you can see that there as the system crosses generally just to the northern suburbs of New York City, and a reinforcing shot of the cold air that's building over Canada that gets driven south with snowfall and with the lowering of temperatures here. So pretty interesting stuff. Very up and down temperature regime. Like here in the UK, it's a very bipolar pattern at the moment between mild and cold. But certainly the warmth has been winning big time over the eastern half of the country, not just in February, even though this has probably been the warmest February on record for most sites to the east of the Mississippi. Also, it's probably the warmest month of the winter overall. But it really is quite a remarkable month, and it could be perhaps a bit of a kind of hangover from the El Nino last year. So as we continue to skip through, you can see here that we do have more wet weather coming into the western half of the country here, continuing to bring stormy weather. You've got another rather vigorous area of low pressure pushing into the Oregon coastline here. Heavy rain, strong winds are riding down the California coast into the San Francisco Bay Area. And this is an area that doesn't necessarily need rain. It's amazing to say that, isn't it? After 6 months ago, this region here was in severe drought. Now they've got too much water. More heavy snowfall for the Sierra Nevada, and we've got potentially a very significant snow event here for the Pacific Northwest, including the major cities. We may even see snow to the beaches here of Oregon and Washington with this setup here. So this would be generally the weekend and in the early next week a significant snow event for the Pacific Northwest. So something to keep our eyes on. We may get some shower activity pushing down towards the Southern California area as well, where drought still exists. It's really from central California northwards where the drought is pretty much over now. But let's not forget the fact that we've still got a significant drought over the southern half of California. So that's it for today. Do check out the written post, more on the heat, and I'll be back again in the next couple of days. Bye for now.